So, I downloaded Flappy Bird. It's basically the new Quap, except that Quap was actually better constructed, believe it or not. In all seriousness, this is one of the worst games I have ever played. So, why does everybody seem to love playing it so much?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So Flappy Bird, for those of you who don't know, is basically another clone of the archaic copter game concept, except the design is completely horrendous, and it's also somewhat notoriously difficult, which ultimately resulted in internet fame. Gear Studios, the people, or I assume person, that developed the game is a small independent Vietnamese company, and according to their website, the simplistic nature of the game and its phone-smashing difficulty are actually part of their manifesto, which leads me to an interesting question. Are the numerous fundamental flaws of Flappy Bird by mistake or design? And by mistake, I basically mean sheer laziness, because given the obsessive-compulsive nature of the concept, it could actually have been a pretty good game. The background is simplistic and completely static. Everything runs on a basic parallax. There's no background music, and the sound effects are just completely annoying. The pause button is utterly unnecessary. Pipes are literally ripped straight out of the Mario series. The collision detection mechanic is absolutely god-awful. And they didn't even bother to design a proper logo. They just wrote out the name of the game in the Grand Theft Auto font. Tapping the screen, which is the solitary command you have to learn, propels your little bird about 50 feet into the air. So the secret would appear to be to stay low to the ground and leave little gaps between each jump, but don't leave too long between each gap, otherwise you will plummet like a stone. It's a bit like Harry Potter doing the Wronski feint, except you're not playing as the boy who lived, you're playing as a spasmodic winged lemon. In which case a better point of comparison is probably Kirby in the Smash Bros games. You know, he does that down B attack and just turns into a solid object. He's like, Yep. So effectively, the world is currently obsessed with a broken game, whilst its creator is rolling in ad money. Speaking of adverts, they're a bit obtrusive, aren't they? I mean, I can only really comment on the iPhone version, because that's what I've got, but like, the ads cover over a considerable portion of the game screen, sometimes to the point where it actually completely hides some of the pipes, and you just sort of have to guess where you're supposed to go. But I think it really says something about the quality of your game when there's more diversity in the type of adverts that show up than in the actual gameplay. It is the same thing over and over again. There's no change in pace, like it doesn't speed up. There is no variation in the type of obstacles that you're faced with. There's no power-ups. There is literally nothing that could like change up the gameplay in any way whatsoever. It's just the same thing. You see, the thing is, the developer doesn't even care. Like, according to the App Store, the game's only been updated once since it was released last year, and that was to include an icon in iOS 7. So is the criminally poor design intentional, so as to make the game harder and harken back to days of old? Or is that just an excuse to legitimize doing the bare minimum? Because I think I'm being pretty generous in saying that that game probably took about 2 hours to make, at best. Honestly, I don't know the answer. The thing is, no matter how bad it is, I can't stop playing. Yeah, mobile games are great to kill some time, but with Flappy Bird, it's more likely that you're killing some brain cells. it will take over your life. Honestly, I would advise that you delete the game because it will make things a lot easier for you. However, I know it's pretty hard to quit, and so instead I would perhaps recommend balancing out the time that you spend on Flappy Birds with time spent on actual better games that are actually supported by their developers. Like, take Temple Run 2 for example. Like, that got a lot of crap when it came out. I admit I had a lot of issues with it, but they have since been fixed because it's actually properly maintained by the people who made it. Like, they actually care about it and put things into it. Like, they've added a load of extra stuff that I hadn't even thought of and solved all of my problems with it. So that's pretty good. And if you've never played Flappy Bird and don't have a clue what I'm going on about, stay away. Like, far, far away. Over the hills and far away. Like, don't go there. Don't even go there. Don't even blink. Don't blink. Don't. I'm telling you, don't. Your life could depend on these words.